there, Writer Rebels. Join me today while we talk about book links and links for other bookish things. This is definitely going to start with the basic and go to the not so basic to help you level up your author career. Hello everyone, it's me, Scarlett Kol, young adult author of fairy tale fantasy, paranormal, and dystopian fiction. I am also a YouTuber, and I am here every Thursday to talk about publishing and writing. So today we are going to be talking about book links and links related to bookish things in your author career that are going to help you analyze your data, understand more about your books and your career and your marketing, as well as make sure that you're not hitting some of the social faux pas of book links. Some of these things are going to be basic, and some of those authors that have been around for a while have probably already heard of some of these. However, I do have some of my tips towards the end of the video that are a little bit newer to me and hopefully are going to be newer to you, and you will be able to utilize them to maximize your author career. All right, so before we get started though, make sure if you do like this video that you're hitting the like button, the thumbs up that's just below this video. And while you're down there, you can hit the subscription bar and the notification bell to make sure that you don't miss any videos from me. I put one out every Thursday and then some extra stuff in the middle to do with my author career. So if you would like to keep up with me, make sure you're hitting both that subscription bar and the notification bell to find out when I put a new video up. All right, so let's get started. The first one is actually a relatively basic one, but I feel like I would be a disservice to authors if I didn't address it, at least in this video, if I'm going to be talking about book links. So the first thing about book links is to not use dirty links. For some people, once you learn this is something that's super basic and that you're going to know all the time, but I did not know this when I first started as an author, and I found this out by submitting something to a promotion and then somebody coming back to me and telling me that they didn't want a dirty link. And I didn't really know what that meant, and there's probably a lot of viewers out there who don't know what that means either. So if you have figured this out before, somebody's already told you and you already know what a dirty link is, maybe you want to skip forward a few more seconds. But for those people who don't, let's start with the basics. So this is a dirty link. It's a link for one of my books. And as you can tell, first off, it's kind of ugly. It's very long. It's got a lot of detail in there. But if you take a look, so this is a dirty link from Amazon, obviously, and there is a number in there, and that's going to be my ASIN. So that's going to be like the identifier for my book from Amazon. And everything after the ASIN is totally useless information. It's actually information that Amazon uses to track the behavior of the people on their website. So if you give this link, a dirty link, to someone else to buy your books, then Amazon is going to associate that person with you as a friend or family. So if you are giving that link out during a takeover or in your newsletter list, it could be somebody that's halfway across the world. They are going to be able to track that information back to you. And why is this such a bad thing? Well, first off, it can actually cut your reviews. There is something in the Amazon world where if people are associated with you or considered friends or family, that they think that their reviews are not necessarily valid. So sometimes they will remove reviews from your books, or they will block someone from being able to put a review up for your book because it is somebody that is related to you. In this case, if they're using a link to buy your books that has all of your tracking information on it, they're going to assume that they're a friend or family and automatically shut them down. It will not happen in all cases, because I did use a dirty link back in the day and some people did still manage to get through with it. But why create that problem, especially if they are so long and ugly anyway? So although this is a clean link with just the ASIN and the details, you can actually get even shorter by taking out the product name as well and keeping that super duper short. When you're on other retailers as well, Kobo, Apple, anything past those identifiers that they have is really not useful. If you aren't sure if the link's going to work, cut all that detail off, paste it into another browser, and then just see if it goes to your page. If it does, you definitely have enough information. If it's not working, then you haven't pulled it right. You start to get used to these really, really quickly when you're using the same sorts of vendors. So it is an easy thing to pick up after a while. So make sure you're using clean links. It's the best thing that you can do for yourself. You're not going to get into a situation where things are going to get blocked for you on Amazon. Plus, it's just so much prettier and takes up way less space in posts, newsletters, and all that sort of thing. The next one I want to talk about is still pretty basic, But I do see there's something that a lot of authors don't do that I want to talk about when we get into it in detail a little bit more. And this is using redirect links. There are a lot of different options out there for redirect links, but two of the most popular that I'm going to talk about is Booklinker. Booklinker is one that will send you to the right Amazon store. So for instance, I live in Canada. A lot of people will put the Amazon.com link up there. So I will click on it. It will take me to Amazon.com, which I cannot buy ebooks from because I am not in the United States. And then I have to click on the Canadian store, go to the Canadian store to buy the book. If you have a Booklinker link in there, when you click on it, it will automatically take you to the Amazon store that is associated with your IP address. So if you're in Canada, it's going to take you to the Canadian store. If you're in the UK, it's going to take you to the UK and wherever you are in the world. Why is this useful? Because it reduces the amount of clicks that people need to take to get to your book. The faster someone can click on something, the better it is for them. So for instance, if you're reading a blog post, let's say, and it's talking about a book that you find really, really interesting, but they don't put any links to that book in there, what are you going to do? You either need to A, remember that book for later for when you want to go look it up. 2, write it down somewhere that you could possibly forget. Or 3, click into one of your favorite retailers, search for it on there, go to that page, and if they're not on that particular retailer, let's say you're an Apple reader and it's only a Kindle or Kindle Unlimited book that you really want to read, then you haven't gone to the right retailer, and now you need to open an Amazon window and then go through there and go through the search process again. The longer it takes somebody to get to your book, the less likely they're going to click on it. If you read that blog post and there's automatically a link there, you click on that link, it brings you to the book and you can one-click it, there's a much higher chance that that person reading the post is going to buy your book. So when we are talking about links, it's very important to make sure that we try to reduce the amount of clicks that a person needs to get from that posting about your book in whatever format that it is into getting what they want, because the less clicks that they have, the better. However, there are certain things that you can add an extra click that will still make things a little bit better. One of them is the books to read, so www.bookstoread.com. And this is created under draft to digital. So if you have your books under draft to digital, you already have these links set up. If you don't use draft to digital, you can still use book to read links. So the benefit of using book to read links is, especially if you're a wide author, is because it's going to give you all the choices of retailers. You will click one link and it will take you to a screen that says, do you want to buy this on Apple or Amazon or all that sort of thing. I know I just said the amount of clicks that it takes you to get somewhere definitely decreases the probability of somebody buying it. But if you are a wide author and you want to make sure that people are aware that it's not just on Amazon, then this is a good alternative for you. Because the other option is basically listing every single link. So let's say you're making a post on Facebook or somewhere else, or Twitter, and you don't have room to be putting, here's the Amazon link, here's the Apple link, here's this link, here's this link, here's this link. You can do that, and the click-through is probably going to be a little bit better. However, if you don't have the space for that, like in a Twitter tweet, then you could use a books to read link. It's also a lot easier if you have, let's say, a book where you have links at the back of the book where they are generic. So let's say you're just giving a PDF copy or something like that, and you don't know which retailer that this person is going to be looking into. You could use a books to read link as opposed to just an Amazon link or just an Apple link, and then that way they can choose which retailer they go to. One of the things that the user can do to reduce clicks for you is, if they are always an Apple reader, they can set that as their preferred store. So every single time they click on a books to read link, it will automatically take them to the Apple store. That eliminates that extra click. However, you can't guarantee that people are going to do that. But the one thing about books to read links that I see so often is the fact that you can customize books to read links. So for mine, for example, for this book, Keeper of Shadows, the books to read link is www.bookstoread.com/Keeper of Shadows. So for me, first off, it does a couple of different things. When I post that books to read link with the Keeper of Shadows things in there, it gives the person that's reading it a little bit more trust that it's actually going to take them to the place that they want to go. So if they've never seen a books to read link before, yes, if it says Amazon, they're probably going to trust, oh, this is going to take me to Amazon. But if you're using something like books to read where they don't really know what it is, the automatic that they give you is just a string of letters and numbers. So they don't really know where that link's going to take them, and they may not trust clicking on it. By having the title of the book that they're interested in the actual link, then they are probably going to be more willing to trust that link and click on it than they would be with another link that they don't recognize or comprehend. So that's definitely going to help with your click-through. The second thing is it makes things so much easier when you're in a hurry or not near your computer. There's been so many times where I've been on social media somewhere and somebody's like, hey, this book looks great. Where can I check it out? Or somebody's, hey, I'm looking for this particular type of book. Does somebody have a book like that? And you're like, oh my God, I have a book like that, but all my links are at home. Or it's going to be a pain for me to flip between different screens on my phone to go to Amazon to get to this. And I'm actually a wide author. So, do you read on Apple? And going through that whole process with that reader. So one thing that you can do really, really quickly is, like I just recited, the books to read link for Keeper of Shadows, because it's simple. It's something I can just type it out because I know what it is. So I don't have to look that up. I don't have to remember some weird series of numbers or digits. I can just go by the title. Sometimes this gets a little bit difficult if you're using generic titles because somebody may have already used that, and if somebody's already using it, obviously you can't use it too. But if you have something that's going to differentiate that, so for instance, I have a book named Falling and I have a book called Dreamer. So those are pretty generic titles, but they are both in a series called the Faraway High series. So I believe the link is Falling, Faraway High, Dreamer, Faraway High. So that way I can remember it very easily. It's going to be unique to that one, but it's going to be easy to use. There are so many authors that I know that have been around for a long time that just do not take advantage of this. And I don't know if they just don't care or if they just don't know that this is something that they can do. The other nice thing about books to read is it is going to tell you where people have clicked through to. So if you are a wide author, it might say, okay, we've had 20 clicks on this link, 5 people click through to Apple, 20 people click through to Amazon, whatever. So it does give you a little bit of tracking information. It's not super detailed, but you do get a little bit more info by using a link like that. Whereas if you just use an Amazon link or an Apple link or a Google Books link, it's not going to tell you how many people have clicked through to the retailer. And you can't compare that with, those many people clicked through and how many people ended up buying. The other thing in terms of redirects that you can use is when you have something like an Instagram or TikTok or something like that where you only have the opportunity to include one link. Well, if you have several books or you have various things that you want people to check out, you want them to sign up for your newsletter, go to your website, check out your books, look at your YouTube channel. There are a lot of different ones that you can use that will have a single link, like a Linktree or card or something like that. Even if you just Google it, you will find a ton of different options where basically it will give you a one-line link where you will click on that link and you will take you to another screen where it will give you all of those different options with all of those different links. So that way you can tie all of those links back into the one link that you're allowed for social media. This one is super duper common. A lot of people are already using it or they've seen it somewhere else. This isn't exclusive to authors. So many people use Linktrees or something like that to include their links in their social media or to keep things very, very simple. But it is something I am going to mention in case it isn't something that you've heard of. It can be a very, very useful tool. They are all very different and some of them offer different features. Some of them are paid. A lot of them usually have at least a free basic option that you can use. So definitely Google those, check those out if you haven't heard of them, and make sure you're maximizing that whenever you can to give everybody as many options to get a hold of you as possible. The next thing I want to talk about is newsletter links. There's 2 components of this that I wanted to talk about that I hear about a lot. First off is the where do I use my newsletter link? A lot of people, when they have their newsletter set up, there is a landing page somewhere where people can sign up. They can sign up on their website, but they're wondering, how do I get more people to sign up for my newsletter? Well, a lot of people are not using their newsletter links to their maximum potential. That landing page link can be used basically anywhere. If you have an author email address that you use exclusively for authordom things, put it in your signature. Put it on your website, put it on your Facebook profile, put it on your Instagram in your link tree, put it on all of those different places. Anytime that you have an opportunity to have somebody join your newsletter, you should be using it. Also, when you have it in your books, there are a couple of different ways you can do this. If you want people who are interested in reviewing your book, you can obviously include that right at the end. If you're interested in hearing more, don't want to miss a new release from me, click this link, sign up for my newsletter. There's also a nice little crafty thing that I've been seeing a lot of other authors use lately. I haven't tried it myself, but they're actually including their newsletter link in the beginning of their book. So before we get into all of the chapters, hey, you want to hear more from this author? Click this link. So when people go onto Amazon or Apple and they get to see that look inside those first few pages, they technically could click on that link from there and sign up for the newsletter without actually even buying the book. So if you have somebody hooked from the first couple of pages, but they haven't quite committed to buying that book yet, they might be interested in checking out your newsletter, and then you can have them as a reader going forward. There's a lot of people who do not use their newsletter links enough within the things that they're doing on a regular basis. So I get a lot of people saying, my newsletter list isn't growing. How do I grow my newsletter list? One of them is let people know that your newsletter exists and make sure that you're using that link everywhere. However, I did say you want to use your landing page link, but there is one thing that I've recently started doing, and I've heard it from a couple of different sources. I heard it at a conference that I was at, and I do know some other people that have been doing it, and that is to create a smart link for your newsletter. So what is a smart link? There are various different companies that will do this. I'm using Smart URL, but there's also a company called Pretty Links as well. Remember those. I'm going to be talking about them a little bit more in a second. But what you can do is create a link, and it's just a standard link that you can actually change where it redirects you to. Why is this important for a newsletter? Well, for me, I've changed newsletter services 3 times so far for various different reasons. And every time I change that, I need to update my landing page in the back of my books. I need to update it on my website. I need to update it anywhere that this link is. And if I've done a good job making sure that my newsletter link is everywhere I can possibly have it, then that's going to be a lot of updating. So if I create this smart URL of my newsletter link and I'm using that to share my newsletter everywhere, then if I change newsletter supplier, then all I have to do is change the link that link is directing me to. So I can change that. I can change it every day if I wanted to. And everybody just has to click on that same link, and it's going to take them to a different place. So sometimes you can get into some issues with this, just with the fact that it is a redirect link, so some places don't like those. But in general, I haven't had a lot of problem with them, and it keeps me from having to update things 100 million times. And this leads me into my next tip, and that is using smart URLs or pretty links or something like that to create your pre-orders. So a lot of people, now that the pre-order limit has extended for Amazon, it used to only be 3 months that you could put a book up for pre-order, but now you can do it for a year. This is changing things for people a little bit, but I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't like to put their books up on pre-order until the book is finished or as at least really, really close to being done. Or, for instance, if they're a slow writer, a year may not be enough. So what are they going to do when they're putting up a book in a series and they aren't ready to have that pre-order link for the next book? Obviously, if you can have the pre-order link, it makes more sense, especially if you have a cliffhanger, because somebody's going to read to the end of that book and then ideally click that link to pre-order the next book. But what happens if you aren't ready? What happens if you can't do that? Well, there is a way around it. You can use one of these redirect links to create that. So at the end of your book, you can say, okay, interested in book 2, click here. And what you can do is you can either redirect them to a page on your website where you will explain that the next book is coming out, when you're planning to have it, and maybe a brief blurb as to what that book's going to be about so that they remember it. The other option, which is something that I might be using in the future, is I've actually created another option on my newsletter list. So if you were to click that link and the pre-order for the next book isn't ready yet, it will actually take you to a landing page for a newsletter and says, hey, do you want to know when this book comes out? Enter your email address and you will get a one-time email to tell you that that book is now available for pre-order. So you're still going to probably lose people by not having that book up for pre-order immediately, but there is an opportunity to catch at least some of them that are interested in it to let them know when that book comes out. Plus, once that book does come up on pre-order, all you have to do is change the link in the background, and you don't have to go in and update your book again. The book it's the same link to click on, and it will now take them to the pre-order link instead of taking you to your website or to this newsletter to be alerted when that book comes out. It's only going to take you to the pre-order instead. So this is a way to do that without updating your book, because if you're late doing that, then it's not going to catch your pre-order, or if you forget to, or if you forget at a certain vendor, or you're having trouble with it, or every single time that you go in to update your book for something, there's a possibility that something can go wrong. So if you don't need to do that, and all you need to do is just change the background link to tell them where to go, then that's all you need to do, and everybody has it in the same version, especially if there's always the opportunity where somebody buys a book today, they read the book through, and they want to click it right away. They click the link, and it's going to take them to the website that tells them, hey, it's not out yet, but leave your email address and we'll let you know. However, there's also going to be those people that aren't going to read that book right away. They're going to see it, they're excited about it, they want to click that book. They leave it for 3 months. So they've already downloaded this book. If you have the link in there that's going to take them directly to a newsletter page instead of a smart URL, the second book may already be on pre-order by the time they get around to reading it, but they've already downloaded the copy with that link in it. So if you have a smart URL in there, when they get around to reading it in 3 months, when they click it, it's going to take them to the pre-order link instead of taking them to the newsletter one that they would have originally gotten when they downloaded that book 3 months ago. So this allows you to make sure that whenever your reader reads that first book, it's going to take them to the most relevant information. And my last tip about links is actually kind of a doozy, but if you get to this point, it can be so valuable to find out where your marketing efforts and everything are working. So when you are using something like Pretty Links or Smart URL or one of those other companies, because there are various different ones, you can definitely get a lot of data out of them. Some of them will require a subscription to do this, but if you want to go to this level, it can totally be worth it for you. So what kind of information can you get out of them? So based on the link that you have, it can tell you how many people have clicked it, what country they're clicking it from, depending on who you have or where it is. It can even give you more demographic information in terms of who is clicking this link and how. But one of the coolest things that you can do with this is creating multiple links for your various different marketing efforts. So anytime we put out a book, we're always trying so many different things to try to hit our target market. You might be doing takeovers on Facebook. You might be sending out newsletter swaps with various different other authors. You might be doing things in your personal newsletter. You're going to include that link for the second book at the end of your book, or even if it's not within a series, you're probably still going to have links for your books in your back matter of your book that you have up. So let's say, for instance, I write paranormals. This is a standalone paranormal. I still have links to my other books in the back of my ebooks, so that way if anybody likes my writing, they can definitely check those out. So you have those book links that you're using everywhere to try to bring somebody in to buy your other books. So how do you know if any of these marketing things are working? You can use links to find out where you're getting your audience from. So what you can do is go into something like Pretty Links, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a lot of different links to the same book, but each one I'm going to name it something different. It's not necessarily going to end up being the name on the link, depending on who you're working through or what kind of subscription you have, but you can always usually have a note as to what that's supposed to be linking to. So you can leave yourself a note going, okay, ABC's for me, newsletter, ABC's for me, newsletter swaps, ABC's for me, back matter, ABC's for me, blah, blah, blah. And then so make sure you're using each particular link in its particular place. So the back matter one you use in the back matter of your books. And you can even make several of them and be like, back matter in this book, back matter in this book, back matter in this book. It depends on how much information you want to get and what you're going to do with it. Also, it also depends on your subscription, because sometimes you are limited with the amount of links you can create on the free levels or on the first basic level before you have to pay more money. So you kind of have to cost benefit that a little bit, but you can create as many links as essentially that you want. When you sign up to do a newsletter swap with somebody, you can give them that particular link. So what's that going to do? When people click on a link from a newsletter swap, it's going to track that data of how many people clicked through. If you do a Facebook takeover and you're only using your takeover link, it's going to tell you how many people clicked through. And so this way you can find out which marketing efforts are actually working. If you are busting your butt to get newsletter swaps every single release, and you start putting out this link and you find out that only like 3 people are clicking through for the like 40 newsletter swaps you arranged to get done, well, then that's really not worth your time. Or you can cut back on the amount of time that you're doing on this. Or maybe there's an area that you really didn't think people were clicking through on that you don't spend a lot of time on. And then you find out that like a ton of people are clicking through on that. Well, maybe you need to spend more time on that and you're going to end up selling more books. This is a huge, huge data mine of what's going on in your marketing, what's working and what's not. This is a definite link hack that anybody can use and would be super, super useful in giving you all sorts of juicy, juicy data. All right, so that's some information on links, on how to up your marketing, how to make your life easier as an author, and how not to make a fool out of yourself. So hopefully you found this information useful, and if you did, make sure you're hitting that like button below this video, and if you don't want to miss any videos from me, make sure you're hitting that subscription bar and the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all later.